I want to add that we should not forget when we talk about the brain or the mind that there is in our body. We are an organism, and this organism is interacting with the environment. So as the mind or the brain has to adapt to the environment for survival, it is going to adapt to different kinds of environments differently. So one way to understand this is that to understand brain function, you would need to understand the environment as well, not just the brain only. Of course, you will realize that. So you need to understand the environment, the context in which the organism is located. That would involve physical ecological environment, as Gibson and many others have pointed out, but also would include things like culture in the context of humans. So we would need to understand the surrounding context as well to understand how the brain functions. The second point I would like to make is that I have problems thinking of brain or the mind as you give some input and it produces some output. I have a problem with it because it's essentially a feed-forward behaviorist model. So it may be easier to conceptualize it in terms of more like a feedback control system, which I think there are a lot of engineers here. So you can think of then as the fact that we have goals. All organisms have goals at different levels, and we perform various actions to achieve these goals. So you cannot understand action without understanding what the kind of goals that we have. And when you have these goals, before you perform an action, and this idea is becoming more and more popular now, the organism is going to predict the consequences of the action. And presumably you perceive and you can compute an error. People call it predictive error now. So there are these notion of predictive brain or predictive mind, depending on whichever terminology you want to use. So that might be more useful to think that, but to understand that we do need to understand the goals of the organism. Because without understanding the goals, you cannot simply look at perception in isolation or actions or movement in isolation. I think that's one of the problems we have. We tend to look at these things in isolation, and partly that's creating the problem in understanding brain function as a whole. Some random comments based on the questions that were raised by Professor Prabhat. One, for example, I agree with Neeraj. We are always interested in changing others' brains. Right now we are sitting here and doing it all the time. As we use language and other tools that we have evolved. But as far as specific things like cognitive enhancement for drugs, just a couple of minor points to remember is that a lot of these drug dependence curves are even in cognition. It goes back to the old Dodson law. If you increase arousal, performance increases. That usually the shape is inverted U. So if you keep on increasing, then you don't keep getting benefits. At some point in time, you reach a peak and then things start falling down again. So please, we do need to keep in mind that we don't have a linear or even a increasing or even an exponential relationship. So a lot of them show inverted U relationships. That's one thing to keep in mind, whether we are going to take drugs or whether whatever we may do, that after some time things actually may start getting worse. That's part of nature itself. The second issue is that this is something that needs to be kept in mind, and we do know in certain cases, I study perception, so I have probably more examples there, is that different cognitive functions, if you increase the ability in one, it doesn't mean that others are not affected, because these things are interconnected with each other. If you increase a cognitive ability in one process, it's going to have a negative effect on some other cognitive processes. There is, at least in terms of drugs, or certain simple, very specific process-related interventions. So we know, for example, that, if you think in terms of perception, you have to segregate. But if you make segregation very easy, we also need to integrate to perceive. So if you make one better, the other one is going to get show it easily in visual perception and masking experiments, but there are various other cases, so you also have to remember these cognitive processes are not separate, sitting separately, and you can boost one without affecting the other. Because they are all interconnected with each other, and the optimal performance or whatever the optimal function is something that we need to find. Exactly what will get us to perform optimally, not just the best in something. I think the word optimal is probably more clear. As far as other things concerned, as far as brain-computer interface is concerned, at least my limited understanding, I don't do it myself. I think the real challenge, as Neeraj pointed out, is that it's difficult to interpret perception, so to put it in a very simple manner. So most of the brain-machine interfaces, most of them, not all of them, focus on actions, typically getting signals from the motor cortex or the electrodes typically are related to various actions like eye blinks, eye movements, and so on, where it's easier to code them and understand them. It is very difficult to code what we are right now perceiving right now. And if we can do that, and that's the challenge. I was just reading, just throw it out, one science fiction bite. This is actually a paper that was proposed. I don't know when it will become a reality or not. I was just reading this paper on what they call neural dust. Essentially, this is a proposal from a bunch of people in the University of Southern California, where essentially they are thinking of these neural dust as the miniature processors, 10 to 100 microns in size. You just sprinkle them in the brain, and then presumably they will convert electrical energy into ultrasonic. So they think that you can put an ultrasonic integrator within the skull, and then which can be used to communicate with these small sensors, as well as power them, because these small dusts also need power. So, and of course this is not a reality, but there is a proposal out there, and it was neat that people are making these power calculations and whether it is feasible or not. Today it's not feasible, but perhaps at some point in time it's feasible. But I would just come back and say that even if you are going to enhance or even understand, we probably need to look at more holistic techniques. I'm sure Keshav will talk about meditation. But we do know that certain practices like meditation actually affect multiple cognitive and emotional processes simultaneously. So perhaps such solutions which will enhance optimal functioning would probably be a better way to do if it is flexible. So I wouldn't really rely on a single drug to just improve my memory. Because there is an example, famous example, I don't know how many of you know, Luria, the Russian neuropsychologist, studied a particular Jewish population called Ashkenazi Jews, and they had exceptional memory as a group, and they have been relatively isolated, so they probably have genetic properties, things that are different. They had exceptional memory. They can remember a lot of things. However, it came with side effects. So lots of specific types of diseases, I don't remember the names anymore, which you may know, were prevalent among them. So it's not that you get one benefit, you get hit somewhere else. You probably know the names of the diseases. So just keep that in mind, and interestingly enough, they reported, while they can remember lots of details like phone number types details, they had huge problems with face perception. Because they thought one face is kind of merging with other faces. They are not able to separate it out because they are remembering everything. So it's all getting mixed up. So I will stop here.
Thank you.
Well,